Good afternoon. It's a warm Sunday at Syon House. Amelia, we're going this way. Come on. No, we don't need the puddle. It's just a massive puddle and well, that's charming, isn't it? Oh dear. Yeah, we booked tickets so we could come and go for a walk around the gardens because we haven't been here since last summer and it was nice to go somewhere different in lockdown. As we observed on the day, there's a lot of families hanging around doing things. Some people don't seem to think lockdown is still on, it would appear.
Welcome to another episode of Toby Stupid Vlog.
Are you finished? Is it for me? Thank you. Would you like the Rivella bottle in exchange?
Yeah.
Okay. Happy Sunday. So yesterday's trip round Syon Park was a great success because this person, who looks very unsure of what's going on, did a lot of running around and she had a great time. And then she worked out that because she had a big nappy on and the ground was quite soft, she could just fall over onto her bum, and that was hilarious. So that was good. But today we're going for a walk around Ham, whilst Crystal heads off to Matlan and Aldi. Currently negotiating with the toddler in a grass maze, quite tricky. Yeah, well, we're going to go straight on, my love. She's more interested in the grass than the maze, so we haven't really got very far. Amelia, can we keep going? Can we keep going? Come on. No, the other way. That's it. Go that way. Would you like to go in the pushchair? Yeah. Well then, can we keep going? Apparently not. It is very intriguing around here though. Like, these are the long grasses that grow on the sands and they die back in the winter, obviously. People create little paths through them. And yeah, you can get through them, but as long as you have some cooperation. Hi there, happy Monday. I just wanted to record this for posterity more than anything else. The house next to us, this big white building in amongst the trees there, which I have filmed before because they've been doing filming there historically. It's a protected building. I don't know whether it's grade 1 or grade 2 listed. It's one of the first buildings in Kew. It's very, very old and very interesting structure. I'd love to see inside it. But they've been doing a clear out recently and they have been giving away the things from the inside that they don't want. And most of it is, as you imagine, like tatty old cabinets and, like, you know, bits of wood and all sorts of rubbish and crap. A whole selection of VHSs that nobody can play. Just the weirdest stuff. And they accidentally gave away a cabinet they want back because there's a notice there. But also, they've got this plastic box where they just fill up with things like the VHSs and stuff. At the moment, it's got like half-used hair care products. Like, what sort of weird ass idea is this? Oh, yeah, we haven't finished our shampoo. Someone will want it. What? Ignoring the fact that we live in COVID times, that's still completely and utterly weird. Anyway, they're still giving away all sorts of old crap and pots and pans and nothing new, nothing antique and nothing interesting, to be honest. But it is fascinating to see the rubbish that goes into there every day. So I've been on Teams and Google Hangout today. And obviously that is how everybody does business nowadays. And for years I've been a strong advocate of like work from home, been saying like there's plenty of tools you can use and you don't need to be in the office all the time. And you probably wouldn't find anyone a bigger supporter of not working in an office than me. However, after a year of this, I'm now of the opinion that it is not as good as working in an office. Not to say I wouldn't do it, but I think there needs to be a bit more balance. This is hardly a revelation. I mean, if you take any poll of any group of people on LinkedIn, as everybody does constantly, and ask what kind of working people would prefer, it's hybrid working. It's not exclusively working from home or exclusively working from the office. And most people want a hybrid environment. And I think one of those reasons is that there are lots of advantages of working from home. But the principal disadvantage is face-to-face contact And that's not about business efficiency. It's not about like making, actually being more productive. It's actually just about the basic human necessity to see other humans, and not just a picture of other humans, but actually the whole of the other person. And there's reasons for that around like how people interact, and the fact that body language is as much of language as verbal language, and it's hard to get on a Zoom call. But it's just actual physical proximity. There's something like we're pre-programmed in such a way that most people need to be around some people a lot of the time, and we just haven't had that of late. We've had literally just the people we live with, and obviously they're the people we probably like the most, hopefully. We shouldn't be living with them, but that's still not enough. You need a variety, and I hope that we're getting closer to the point where that's going to happen. Hi there, happy Tuesday. It's the 23rd of February today. I mentioned that only because there was a government announcement yesterday, which obviously last year have been quite commonplace, to do with the easing of lockdown and the process by which that's going to happen, and some approximate dates, although people have published them as absolute. There are very approximate dates on which things might happen, starting with kids going back to school, and then some other shops opening, and then some other hospitality things occurring, and people meeting outside, which actually happens much earlier, and then eventually the plan for all restrictions to be lifted if everything goes to plan, and there are no unforeseens by the end of June, which I hope is right. I hope it all works, obviously. It's nice to see a plan for once that is flexible and actually takes some science into account. And I don't say this very often, so record this moment in history, but I think this is the right approach for the government to take, and I think it shows that some consideration has been given to sort of expectation management, and not just turning lockdowns on and off like a light switch, which is very damaging for both business and mental health, and in the wrong direction, obviously, actual physical health. I add only one small caveat, and that is that the rate of vaccination has dropped dramatically in the last week, which is concerning, and I'm not sure whether it is because of a lack of uptake, a lack of supply, problems with logistics, or problems with making sure you have, the actual local services have contact information for the next groups. I don't know which of those it is. Either way, it's worrying. We'll see today whether they turn the corner. Sundays and Mondays are historically poor days for vaccinations anyway, but yesterday was the worst day of vaccinations since records began. So that's very concerning. So that one caveat that, we have to get to probably beyond 75% vaccinations to make this work. I am hopeful, and it also coincides with today being the first day of nice weather. It's warm, and it's going to be warm all week, and it just feels like spring is arriving and the end is in sight, if not imminent. And this is why you go into queue in spring. Obviously it's my favourite season. Obviously I mention that every single time I can, but it's the flowers, silly, that's why. I love crocuses. They're very short-lived. They're mostly gone by mid-March, if not the beginning of March this year, I reckon. I love daffodils, and then the blossoms are just amazing to me. Do you know what else I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to being able to cough in public. Not cough at people, not cough on people, that's disgusting. But just cough in the audible range of people and them not be completely disgusted. That would be a real step forward. I don't think I can adequately describe the feeling of joy I get when I see a carpet of crocuses like that. That might sound really, really silly, but it's because I'm really dislike winter for a number of reasons. The length of day being the biggest problem, and the temperature being another one. That the signal that's over is so overwhelmingly positive. It's amazing. It's a bit windy. Not going to complain. Let me ask you a question, and this is especially true if you are either a freelancer or if you are somebody who has some element of freelance in their work. Has your job changed dramatically because of COVID? This isn't a sell. I'm not an injury lawyer. What I mean by that is, do you still have a good answer for the question of what do you do when somebody is talking to you about your job? Because I'm not sure I do have a good answer to that anymore. And I definitely did have a good answer up until, last March. I'd said, and this is what I had said when I was asked by the registrar, when you register to get married, you have to say what your job is. And I said, I'm a videographer. I make videos. I film them and I edit them. It's a pretty straightforward job description. And I guess that's still my ambition. It just isn't the reality of what I've been doing for the last 12 months. I'm not a videographer in 2020. In reality, in 2020, I was a mastering engineer, which is very weird. That's never a job I really applied for. And a podcast producer. Which, those are all things, that's like my fallback position. This is work I used to do, for my past life. But I just wonder whether your job description is become muddled because of COVID. I'm curious. There's now a lot of people who do probably more things than they thought they were going to do. And I wonder if you're comfortable with that. I'm quite comfortable with that. I don't really ever like the idea of a job description at all, to be honest. But I know some people won't be. I'm just curious how it's affected you. Let me know. Just continuing some random thoughts. I've got a whole list of laws I'd like to see passed in the United Kingdom at the moment, and they're all driven by experiences that have been heightened because of COVID, but I've reinforced my views on things, and they're all mostly to do with vehicles with two wheels, all of them, all the different ones. But I'm going to come back to that at another point because it's long and this isn't the moment. But I want to talk to you about some phrases I really hate and see if you have a similar sort of reaction to them. So the first one is, that's above my pay grade, which people, dish out when they don't really want to answer your question, or when they can't answer your question and they equally have no interest in finding out what the answer is. I can't imagine ever working for a business where any of the employees think that is a good answer. Like, that's a red flag to me. Like, somebody says, oh, it's above my pay grade, that's a red flag. It shows, one, you have no initiative as an employee to realise that there is a person who probably can answer that, and there's a way of referring the person asking the question to the person who can provide the answer. But secondarily, it's just lazy, isn't it? It's just like, I don't care. It's not my problem, it's yours. It's terrible. If I was the person who was above their pay grade in that instance, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want them to work for my organisation anymore. That's my feeling on that. It sounds like, cool and offhand, but actually he's just being a prick. Like, you're being a prick. And let me give you an example where I heard it and why it's annoyed me, because then you get a bit of context. So this happened to me. I was buying non-alcoholic beer in Marks and Spencer. Okay. And I'm quite into non-alcoholic beer at the moment. It's quite useful when you're a parent but you like beer. So it happened because if you scan in Marks and Spencer at the moment, any non-alcoholic product that is a sort of de-alcoholized version of a alcohol product, so non-alcoholic wine, non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic cocktails, all of those things, then they do a over 18 check on the till. If you do self-service, it zaps, it sends a little thing and someone has to come over and ascertain that you're over 18. Now, there is no legal requirement for that, because anything under 0.5% alcohol in the United Kingdom is not considered an alcoholic drink. So there is no requirement to check your ID. But clearly someone at M&S has just said, oh, this is all beer, it all goes in the beer category, you need to check their age, and they haven't bothered to do it. So when I raised it for this happened to me for about the 15th time, I raised it with one of the people who works on the checkouts, saying, like, you've got to look at this is just silly, like, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of mine, you need to take all the non-alcoholic beers and wines off the soft tag, as it's called. And their response was well above my pay grade. Really? I don't think so. Like, you could just ask your boss. It makes your job easier, surely. So that really riled me. And it's definitely trivial, but in that instance, but it does show a distinct attitude problem in an employee, I would suggest, and a cultural issue within the business that I would be concerned about if it was my business. As a customer, I would have more respect for the answer, oh, it's just too much fuss. Like, I can look at doing it, but in all honesty, there's too much bureaucracy. It's not going to get done. So I appreciate the problem, but we're just going to have to live with it. That's an honest answer. It's not helpful, but it's honest. More crocuses. They look amazing. My mood has improved again. And some daffodils. This is the only place that I can walk to from my front door. And frankly, one of the few places I can drive to from my front door that I never do, inside of a day, and it feels like a real holiday. Now, sure, I can go on a staycation, go to the Cotswolds, what have you, but this is just so low effort, and as soon as you come in here, you just feel like you're on holiday. It's amazing. I wish I could explain it, but I think you have to experience it. Hi there, it's a lovely day, it's Wednesday, and so I'm going to go for a walk just down the road in Surrey rather than around these streets. But before I do that, I need to buy some things to make a sandwich, because there's no way I can go there and have a walk and get back in time for lunch. So I've come for a walk on my own, and it's very peaceful and tranquil, so I'm ruining that by talking at a camera. But it's nice now and again to get out, just me. So I have brought my drone with me. I'm just rereading the law to try and understand whether I'm currently allowed to use it. I am allowed to use it here, like there's nothing restricting drone use in this particular location. But under the current lockdown regulations, one of the reasons, basically you're not allowed to leave your home without a reasonable excuse, blah, blah, blah. One of the reasonable excuses is going for a walk, exercise. Exercise is a reasonable excuse. Now, if I'm on my walk and I stop and then I use the drone, is that recreation, let's say, which is not covered, so not allowed under the current regulations? Or is it merely a break on my exercise? And actually, the reason I've come here is go for a walk. I'm sure lawyers would love to pick that apart. Another answer could be that this is work. I use the stock footage, I probably will. So there's lots of ways of explaining it, but there's not a very clear-cut answer as to whether it is legitimately allowed or not. People talk about both the letter and the spirit of the law. Now, that's lovely and everything, but you can only enforce the letter of the law. The spirit of the law says I'm coming for a walk in good faith. If I find a moment to fly my drone, I will, and if I don't, I won't. So, Is that within the spirit of the law, or would the spirit actually be the walk is the only thing you're allowed to do, and so you're not going to try and do anything else? I don't know the answer. Maybe a legal expert could interject. I will see whether the opportunity presents itself. I will reread the language of the legislation and I will see what a reasonable interpretation would be. You might be able to see underneath all these trees there is lots of little tufts of leaves coming out from the old dead leaves of the tree. All these little things spring to life. They're all bluebells. So these woods in like a couple of months time, maybe less, are going to be absolutely incredible. And through there it's just green because there's just leaves everywhere. It's going to be the most bluebelly location. So I've got to remember that. I've got to come back here closer to my birthday when this green carpet will become blue and purple and pink and white. That'd be amazing. So I've been coming along the ridge that I parked along, which runs along the north edge of the Surrey Hills, and I'm just now turning down into the valley. I wanted to see what it looks like when I came out of the trees. As I said, it's a bit mixed, so it could look like anything, but the view's always good regardless of the weather. Oh yeah. That was a nice place to stop and have lunch, part one. I always like to break lunch up a bit, especially when you're walking. You need little bits of energy here and there. Nice view, but the wind is actually the limiting factor. It's not drone regulations and it's not COVID restrictions. The reason I can't fly a drone is it's too windy. So there you go. I did have time to go quite a lot of work on the drone this morning, including adding the new flyer ID and making sure everything was in good order because I hadn't used it in nearly 6 months. And sometimes that's the way. You do the work but you can't actually take off. Never mind, it's still a lovely walk. You can see this path that runs down the hill. It's got a load of yew trees on the right. It must have been an old lane that led up to the fields. Some of these yew trees are now enormous, like that one over there. I wonder if it's become obvious to you yet why it is I want to live closer to here. In fact, right here, ideally, not on this track, although there is a nice house at the end, but in the countryside, more specifically. Because everyone always says, oh, that's very rural, that's very remote. I mean, that simply isn't possible in the United Kingdom, and certainly not on the mainland. Being remote is basically impossible in England, certainly. Some part in the northern parts of Scotland, maybe. But England and Wales, you're not really that far from some sort of civilization. It's not a big enough country. So, yes, I'd like to be more remote. I'd like to be able to step out my door and not be guaranteed to see, like, more cars and more people. I'd like it to be a possibility rather than a guarantee. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, I keep saying it, maybe it'll happen if I keep saying it, this year we will end up deeper in Surrey. Just carrying on through the wind. I'm not sure what the name of this trail is, but it has blue signs all the way. Keep your dog under control, good advice, especially around livestock. Look at these beautiful fields. Amazing, love it. Needed this day. Can you see that? What is that insane house being built in a tiny village? It's absolutely enormous. We are just on the edge of the Wootton estate, and at some point soon, maybe not that soon, we will pass Wootton House, which is now a beautiful hotel, restaurant, etc. Somewhere I'd very much like to go when those kind of things are open. And it's obviously right bang splat in the middle of the estate. Cows going out to the field with some of the calves. And lots of crows. Lots of crows there. And if you look on the hill behind them, there's a sort of pointy field up there. That's where I stopped for lunch part one, right at the top of that field, which now looks like a long way away. Here we are in Abinger. That's the pub. This is the church, and Abinger Manor is just on the other side, which is a large house, as you would expect. I don't know that it's actually that old, but it is very nice. It's on the other side of the churchyard. Just make it out through the gap. Right, I'm going for a walk this way without getting run over, hopefully. It's nice here, but I've been here before. We came towards the end of the summer, I think, with Amelia, when we did a round walk. And these are a series of ponds that runs down the river over different weirs. I presume they're stocked for fishing, but I don't know that for sure. This is the original old bridge that takes you from one side of the ponds to the little house in the woods on the other. It's very nice indeed. And then this path runs down through the Wootton Estate, which is where I'm going, down towards the Wootton Hatch, which is probably our favourite pub. It's a bit of a toss-up, really like the Black Swan in Ockham as well. And but yeah, it's probably the Wootton Hatch. And we'll be coming back as soon as that is legal. Now, the only bad news, having done like 3/4 of the circle, the sun coming out and it being blissful, one of the most idyllic parts of the country, is that the car is on the top of that ridge in the distance. Up there, so we've got to climb that hill. Made it through Wootton. This is St John the Evangelist Church, Wootton, which is not really in Wootton. It's on the other side of the road and then down a 200-metre path, sat on its own in the field. It's very pretty. I'll get to look inside one day, but not today, obviously, because churches are closed. So I've crossed back over the main road. I've got to cross back over the railway line, which is in this cutting at the bottom of the hill, and then I just have to climb that hill. Okay, I've just crossed the railway line. Believe it or not, it's in there. And now we have 2.5 kilometres to go and 100 metres up. And it is currently 2:45, so I'm not going to film until we get there. Let's see how long it takes. It is 3:10, so it took 25 minutes. And that was a good workout, is probably a nice way of putting it. But a lovely location, and we'll come back at some point in the spring. For now, I just need to have a little bit of recovery before I drive home. Hi, happy Thursday. So last night I recorded a podcast with Maya Gabiera, who, if you haven't heard of her, is the woman who has surfed the single largest wave in 2020 of anybody. It's like 73 feet. It's crazy. What's that in meters? Like 22 meters, something like that. Huge wave. And that is the largest wave ever surfed by a woman, ever. It's quite impressive, but I've been editing that this morning anyway, and fiddling around with things. I'm going to go for a walk now that's going to be much more leisurely than yesterday's affair. This is walking home from nursery now, actual walking. Come on. Rather than me just pushing, she actually wants to get out and walk, which is very encouraging, if only she'd walk at a reasonable pace in the right direction. You've got to push. You do it then. No, we'll get them when we get to the other end. Let's keep going for the moment. Check out this beautiful sunset. They're lovely flowers, aren't they? Can we keep going this way, please? Come on. Hi there, happy Friday evening. I just thought I'd check in, mostly to say today was a lovely day. It was beautiful. We're in Kew Gardens. Amelia ran around all over the place. It was great fun. I had a board away day, which is not really a strategy day, we call them now, in the morning, which was really, really good. And It was all around a lovely day, and now this evening there's a beautiful smell in the air, and it's ever such a pleasant evening. And Louie's come to say hello. Hi Louie. See you later. I was going to say thank you for watching, and I appreciate it. And in a moment, future Toby will give you a word of the week. But I thought of one for him, and here is a clue.